of day 3. Bitter cold winds. Restless sleep. I awake to north winds that feel the same as yesterday at points, except with a chill to them. I have a decision to make, whether I'm going to remain windbound on this island site, which is bug-free, or am I going to load up everything and try and paddle the next 7 to 8 kilometers north into the headwinds? I'm not sure yet. Isn't there an old saying, winds before 7 and by 11? Or is it winds before 11 and by 7? I've made a decision. I'm gonna go for it. I'm breaking camp now. The winds are bad, but they're not as bad as they were yesterday. And I guess I think absolute worst case scenario, I can come back here. I really don't want to, but if I get out there and it's just so bad, I know I've got a good site here that's pretty much bug free, so I might as well take it if I have to. But I really hope to not have to backtrack. I hate losing progress. Breaking camp. I'm on the water by 20 after 9. Into the headwind to take on the challenge. See how far I can go. I have to try. Knowing that there's a goal ahead of me, I just can't sit idle. Yesterday, there were whitecaps on the lake to the west of my campsite on the big body of water. Today, there's not, so it is not as bad as it was yesterday, and I should be able to navigate through it okay. After a short paddle, I had another decision to make. The large expanse of Caribou Island created a fork in my path. I could go to my left and head into Big Chiniguchi Lake. However, I feared the wind and the waves on such a large lake, as I would have to paddle directly into them. Instead, I chose to paddle through the more direct, smaller channel on the eastern side of Caribou Island. Once the island had passed, and I was into the northernmost half of Chiniguchi Lake, I looked back on the beautiful scenery that I didn't get to see up close. I vowed to one day return. I'm heading northeast towards McConnell Bay. I'm unsure if I'm going to camp there tonight or push right through, possibly all the way down to Evelyn. I'm not sure yet. It's only 20 after 11. I've made decent progress considering the headwinds. We'll see how this looks. The difficult thing would be there's an 850 meter portage from McConnell Bay into Laura Lake. And it is a very soupy, muddy, wet portage. So if I decide to stay on McConnell, it'll be based on my non-desire to do that portage today. So I'm into McConnell Bay, and the north wind, I was paddling along the north shore on the little inlet coming in, and of course, as you saw, I was just swarmed by black flies. There's still a bunch of them around. But I round the corner onto the main part of McConnell, and look what I found. A whole big beautiful beach. I'm gonna have to check this out. That's the whole expanse of the beach here, the north end of McConnell Bay. It seemed like a sin to leave this place. It's so perfect. Really, I've covered the distance I wanted to cover, and I thought anything after this would just be a bonus. But seeing how just simply beautiful this is, I have to take advantage of it, and I'm going to camp here tonight. Beautiful campsite right here with a beach, and look at the view. Another awesome campsite here up on the point. Plenty of space for lots of tents here. This is how she looks all set up. This is the pyramid net by Sea to Summit. It's the double size. It's just big enough to have my chair in there and sit in there nicely. One thing you can do to give you more room is take a blood-ended stick or a branch, stick it in the ground, and then pry out that front end. I'll probably be doing that later. But it's just enough room to escape from the bugs and sit in there comfortably. The only thing, you have to get in underneath. There's no doorway or anything like that, so you have to crawl underneath, but it's all good. It's worth its weight in gold during peak bug season like this. I'm out in the middle of McConnell Bay, trolling a little Cleo. No action so far. It's a picturesque little lake here. It's rocks, islands, that big beach. Just gorgeous. I can't believe I found that little piece of paradise here. Wild. There's really no rest unless you're right in the wind, and it's a pretty bluebird day, so just have to deal with it. So I decided to try and find the portage that I have to do tomorrow, which is a 850 meter over to Laura Lake. And I found the entrance here on this little sandy beach. I think I'm going to scout ahead on this one. It's an 850 and it's supposed to be very muddy and very gross and treacherous. So I think I'll scout ahead on it just so I know what to expect for tomorrow. You sure come into it here. Just a mess. Not sure what I'm going to do. I'll have to look at this a little more carefully, but this gives you a visual on how it's described. It's described as very muddy, and this is what you're looking at. Pretty deep, soupy, skunky mess. Okay, I think I'm done trying to scout it. It just sucks you right down. I jumped out before I could feel bottom a couple of times, so I'm not going to bother trying to cross it right now. I'll just do it once tomorrow. Just grin and bear and get it done.
Paradise. To me, anyways. This vast expanse was all mine to savor and enjoy. The difficulties I had faced up to this point were the furthest thing from my mind. I often wonder, how long will we be able to hold on to a beautiful utopia such as this? How long before it slips from our grasp? Our fondest memories were born out of great experiences, not from our imaginations. While this paradise still exists, what is stopping you from creating a fond memory here? In my own memory, this particular evening will live forever.
Morning. It's the morning of day 4 on McConnell. Today I slept till about 8 o'clock. Had a really good sleep, my best sleep so far. Very comfortable spot here. I had my coffee and my breakfast, which I boiled water over a fire. I was able to enjoy those in the bug shelter, in the sanctuary of the bug shelter, and I'm breaking camp, and I feel like I've got lots of energy to take on the possible portage from hell. So I have a short paddle east, about 500 yards, and then I take it on. So let's go. Okay, folks, I have carried my canoe and my bag and food bag to the mucky section, and I just want to show you this here. As you come down the trail, you have a few different options. That's the main trail, going through the really crappy stuff that I showed you yesterday. There's another option to the left, marked by this trail tape, but I followed it down, and where it comes out into this marsh looks equally as bad. But there's also a trail here going off to the right, and it leads into a mucky section too, but it doesn't look quite as bad, and it looks like there's more things I could walk across, like logs and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go across with the bag and the food bag and take it as a trial run before taking the canoe across. And I'm gonna take the GoPro with me across, but I'm gonna put it in the waterproof case, just because if I were to drop it in that gunky mess, it would be gone probably forever and I'd lose all my footage. So let's do this thing.
made it to Laura. Laura Lake is out there. This is to put in the last section of this. Just keep in mind there's a rocky section that's just flat rock going down on quite an angle, so just really watch your footing and be careful, especially if it's wet. It's dry right now, but my boots are so wet I did slip. But as you can see, I'm being swarmed, and this was the case that whole portage. So if you ever want to do a portage where if you make one wrong step, you'll get sucked into mud down to your knees while having blood-sucking insects swarm around you the entire time for 850 meters, do this one.
No doubt, that one wore me out. I was tired, thirsty, and sick of the relentless mosquitoes. The open spaces of Laura Lake were welcomed, and I drank almost 2 liters of her clear waters. I continued to move south, through more headwinds, and I eventually entered Laura Creek.
Little update, I paddled to the end of Laura Creek here, and it's kind of deceiving. It looks like there's a portage over there to the right, but it is not the portage. You'll come down from that direction there, you'll see all this log jam stuff, you'll hear running water to your left. You want to come to your left, and then the portage is actually across these rocks, and right through there's a piece of trail tape you'll see on a tree. And so you just have to kind of hop, skip, and jump around these rocks. And there's a 130 portage over there. So now you know how to find it, and it's buggy as ever again. I'm almost to Evelyn Lake, but I heard the sound of this falls. And then I remembered from Camper Christina's videos that she sat and had lunch at this spot right here. Little falls coming out of Evelyn into Muck Lake, I believe, or something like that. It's right around there. Anyways, I recognize the spot, so I thought I'd give it a shout out, give her a shout out. And I'd hoped I'd see a moose or something on this section, but no dice, and the mosquitoes are just, it's 2:30 now. Definitely slow progress with that 850 portage this morning and the headwinds on Laura and Laura Creek, but I'm almost there.
The next hour and a half of travel was difficult. There were 2 more portages, and the winding creek travel between them was shallow and required me to sink my paddle down into seemingly bottomless sludge in order to push ahead. The swift and shallow creek leading into Evelyn's northern end required me to get out and lift over a few obstacles. Later in the year, I imagine this section would have to be completely waded and lined through.
Camp is going to feel so good. This has been a battle of a day. Well, hallelujah. It's 4 o'clock. And I reached the south end of Evelyn Lake, and I found my campsite. It's got a really good put in there. Great fire pit, leftover driftwood for me to burn, good tent pad. Oh, what a day. I'm telling you, what a day. Anyways, I'm going to waste no time and get my tent set up and my camp going here. I left McConnell, my campsite on the beach, I think around 10. I started that portage at around 10:30. That took me an hour and a half. And then I didn't get here until 4. So it was very slow going just with the headwinds and that. So, and I didn't eat anything until 4 o'clock either. So yeah, I did all that today on oatmeal and coffee. For tonight, I'm just gonna sit and watch the sunset. I've got my camera in here. I've got some wine. I'm away from the bugs, and it was a tough day. You know, it was a really tough day. I'm not sure how tomorrow's going to go. I have more southerly travel, and there's supposed to be south headwinds again tomorrow. So
We'll see. I'll just evaluate it in the morning and take it as it comes. Evelyn Lake is beautiful. It is a very, very beautiful lake. I'll try and get some shots of it later, but yeah, well worth coming here. Anyways, folks, that's all. If you're still watching these videos, please continue. That would help me out big time. Yeah, and we'll talk to you later. Story of my life on this trip so far. Absolutely crazy winds. I'm glad I got to fish a bit this morning and early afternoon over here where it was kind of sheltered. Morning of day 7. It's really disheartening. These 30 kilometer to 40 kilometer an hour south winds have not let up. Yeah, the fury of Donald Lake, the fury of Temagami.